What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Orange County. This is season 19, and we're going to be reviewing episodes 15 to 16. Y'all know I was on vacation. I'm trying to catch up, okay? But let's get into it, okay? So y'all know sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy just a little bit. Now, I don't have anything to really talk in the spicy corner other than I did a standalone spicy corner, but I called it Spicy Corner Central because I talked about all the shows that I review. I just did not have I was too tired to be making like 5 videos, okay? But y'all know I try my best to timestamp my videos. So Real Housewives of Orange County is the first topic that I talk about, and it's more so for what is to come as it pertains to like the reunion and things of that nature, because Andy spoke about OC on his radio show. So if you're interested in that, I'll put the link in the description box below, and also here's the thumbnail. Okay, but let's get into the review. All right, y'all. So let's get into this episode. So episode 15 opens up, and we find out that Shannon is throwing like an unofficial bridal shower party for Jen. We find out that she invited everybody the night before and basically said, you know, come in your nice garden wear. Shannon's on the phone while she's at the restaurant getting this table ready and everything, frustrated and upset because she spent almost, I think she said over $2,000 or exactly $2,000 on like the linens and the cutlery and all of that stuff for the table, but there were certain things that were missing. I think specifically she was supposed to have rose-colored wine glasses, and I think she also talked about like certain knives, and she was on the phone with the ladies being like, look, I'm disappointed. And I was with Shannon. If I spend $2,000 on something and it's not as I expected it to be, I'm going to be pissed off. I'm going to have a problem, and I'm going to expect you to fix it, okay? Either send somebody over here to get these, clear glass wine glasses and give me my rose colored ones, or give me a refund. Either way, I need compensation. Okay. So we end up seeing everyone starting to get ready for the event. We see, Gretchen talking to Slade, saying that she prayed at church to God about her relationship with Tamra and wanting to be able to move forward. And when I tell you, I got so irritated because I was like, Gretchen, Gretchen has a specific performance when it comes to her performance of Christianity. I told y'all, it gives 1950s housewife living in Alabama during segregation. It gives that. And I feel like the only reason why she holds so tightly to that aesthetic as well as to this religion, and I'm saying this as someone who would classify themselves as a Christian, is because she thinks that it makes her angelic. The whole like praying in front of everybody, the whole like Jesus loves you, but she doesn't understand, like, girl, it coming from you, it feels sinister. like what are we doing? Because I was like, girl, why would you waste the Lord's time? Because you don't want resolution with Tamra. And I'm saying this as someone who is not a big fan of Tamra. Like, there are moments where I was like, okay, Tamra had a point, but like, is she a housewife that I go up for? No, but I can appreciate what she brings to the show. But I still, like I said, yeah, she not my cup of tea. But there's this commitment from Gretchen to not be seen as the same as Tamra, but also to seem as better and more angelic. And I'm just like, girl, you're not. You're not. Like, maybe in the beginning of y'all's feud, you were the victim, but for 12 years, you've been going back and forth, sis. There's dirt on both of y'all hands. And like I said in my last review, when you play in the mud with somebody long enough, by the time you get out of the mud, both of y'all are so dirty that the people that are looking at you can't tell who's the dirtiest. And that's what it comes to with Gretchen. But Gretchen is trying her hardest to be like, no, well, I'm the victim. And it's like, well, girl, do you not remember the night before you chased after her with your man, telling her to run, and was like making fun of her, saying that she was scared? Okay. So the first person to get to Shannon's event is Gretchen. And Shannon wants to talk to Gretchen about what happened at Emily's fundraising event. And she's just like, what's up with you and Emily? Are y'all in a good place? And they flash back to when Emily and Gretchen were yelling at each other, and Gretchen says, it's not about Slade. After Emily basically told her, like, girl, you were wrong for going up over there with Slade. And so Shannon even tells Gretchen, like, girl, that was a bit much. Like, when are you gonna get to the point where with Tamara where you don't engage like I am? Like, I can coexist. I don't want to be friends with the lady, but when are you gonna get to that point? And she also tells Gretchen, she's like, because at this point, some of the women in the group are starting to see you and Tamara being on the same level. And I knew Gretchen didn't like to hear that. Because she kind of was like, And I said, yeah, girl. And so Gretchen ends up saying, me and Tamara are not the same. We're not the same. And production was like, well, what's the difference between y'all? And she was like, I have a list. And pretty much we actually see her, like, on her notes app in her phone, she basically has a list of all the different ways that she is not like Tamara. And I said, first of all, that's pathetic. And what I mean by that is, like, I am never going to be that, like, here's the thing. Are there people in this world I don't like? Yes. There probably are people that don't like me. Like, it is what it is. But I have never been that obsessed with somebody where I have a list detailing how much different I am compared to them. It's never that deep. And that's the weird thing, Gretchen. Like, the fact that you you did this and you didn't see that it was weird, because, girl, you really sat there one day and was just like, I don't have a child that calls me a manipulator and a liar. I don't have people suing. Like, you really made a list. And I said, girl, that's weird. That's weird. Weird. It's weird. And I don't care what nobody says. It's weird. So we see the rest of the ladies get there. Tamara gets there, and I think Heather or one of them ends up saying, like, no, Emily was like, you gonna say hi to Gretchen? And Tamara's like, no, girl, I'm done with her. And you hear Heather say, I guess there's nobody saying hi. And then Gretchen was like, it's to be expected. I didn't expect her to say hi to me. So then we see Jen pull up, and she's like, oh my God, this is beautiful. She was like, this is way more than what I would have done for my actual wedding. She also says that she kind of feels like she has a scarlet letter on her chest because of her divorce. She was like, in her family, like, we're taught, like, you only get married once and that's it, that's all. And they show a flashback when she got married in 2002. And so she's just like, I just want things to be different. I don't want them to be too traditional. So then everyone's just talking about how this is not like a traditional bridal shower. Like, Shannon is like, we're just celebrating that you and Ryan are still together and y'all are going to get married someday. So then Shannon was like, can everybody go around and say, like, what kind of advice to give to her? So Tamara says, this is your second marriage. I've been in my second marriage. Try your best not to fight when you're like, try your best not to say things when, mean things when you're angry, because you can't take them back. You have Shannon talking about communication is what's most important. And then I didn't even know Shane was Emily's second husband. I thought he was her first. But she was like, the first person that I married, he was a great guy, but I don't think he was my person. She says she feels like Shane is her person. And Gina says that's beautiful, but also you have to remember, don't lose yourself in the marriage. And then Gretchen starts talking about, like, her faith. Tamara rolls her eyes, and I was with Tamara. Girl, shut up. And then Heather ends up saying, who you're with. Like, people are going to talk about you and Ryan, y'all's relationship, but at the end of the day, that's the person you picked to be with. And if you know what y'all got is good, then you shouldn't be worrying about what anybody else has to say. So then we find out that the girls want to go on a trip together. And then I think Shannon suggests Amsterdam because Stella, her daughter, we saw at the beginning of the season, was like, girl, I'm in Amsterdam, like, going to a rave. The party starts at 11, but the party don't end till 7 a.m. And she was like, there's a lot of fun things that happen in Amsterdam. We find out that Heather's father and her mother used to live in Amsterdam. They lived there for 15 years. So she's like, oh yeah, I'm down for us to go to Amsterdam. That seems like it would be a really good time. So the garden party is over. The next thing we get is Heather and Terry at their apartment. If you remember, Heather and Terry are trying to sell their house in Beverly Hills, but it seems like it's taking way longer than they expected. We actually see her FaceTime. It's like a flashback of her FaceTime in one of the Joshes, and he's like, we just need one person to take the home. Like, just, stay hopeful. So then they talk about Amsterdam and how excited Heather is to go. We also find out that her mom sent Heather her dad's ashes. Mind you, I was like, there could have been a better way. Like, it was in one of those like paper gift bags, but it was like wrapped up in this like leather thing. And I was like, well, it's a lot better than Sai, who had her mom in a Walmart plastic bag. But I was just like, there had to be a different way. And Heather was just talking about how like controlling her mom is, because her mom was talking about don't be like, because I think her mom knew that she was going to be talking about her dad on the show. So she basically was like, don't be talking badly about your daddy, even though it's clear as day that Heather wanted a different relationship with her father, but it doesn't seem like he had the capacity to give her that. She talked about how like her dad and her were total opposites. He wasn't very like emotional, but he would have these emotional outbursts from time to time, and that's what made it jarring, whereas she's very emotional. They even show us like a flashback of when her parents were on the show during like, I think it was like 2013 or 14, and the mom kind of had an attitude with the dad because like everyone was talking about his outfit, and you could tell that that's probably wasn't the outfit that the mom wanted him to wear because she is so controlling. But Terry talks about like, well, you know, they say you married your dad, so you think I'm like your daddy. Like, I'm emotional. You see me cry. Like, you see me cry. He was like, maybe when, you know, I see that American Express, you know, bill, but you see me cry. There's like, I think Heather and Terry do have a good relationship, but like I'm starting to look at their relationship like Ray and Karen. It's an institution. Like, it's probably cheaper to keep her. I don't think that they are like unhappy, but it's just like you can tell that there's moments between Terry and Heather where I think Heather doesn't seem like feel like Terry may understand her or get her. And Terry seems like he's just the type of guy that like he just wants to go with the flow of things. Like, everything ain't that deep, but sometimes everything is that deep, you know? But she's planning on spreading her dad's ashes when they go to Amsterdam, but specifically in front of their house in Amsterdam, because, you know, Amsterdam has all those like canals and things of that nature. I think she's going to dump them in the canal. Or maybe, I mean, I don't think she would want to put it on the doorstep because then it's like everybody walking on your daddy. But yeah, so I think she's going to dump it in the canal. So then we see this scene of Travis and Gina going to dinner. Girl, I hate talking about Travis and Gina's relationship because I want to meet the baby mama. That's truly what it is for me. I want to meet that lady. I want to understand how she's able to terrorize y'all the way y'all say she do. And ain't no courts have stepped in. So we find out that the little boy that the mom was like, these are their words, holding hostage again, like, you know, wasn't allowing him to go back over to the house with the rest of his siblings. He finally is back home with Gina and Travis. We see a flashback of Gina talking to Britt, which we know is Matt's, her ex-husband's wife, and pretty much she was like, you know, he's back, and she's like, okay, that's Britt is like, okay, that's great, but she's like, it's insane though, because it's like you held him for so long, like what's the difference now? And so we find out that Travis, in order to like get time to see his son, was volunteering at his son's school to work to do PE, so like he could see his son and let him know that, like, you know, your dad is still here, your dad still wants to be in your life. And so Gina feels like because the little boy saw Travis at school, eventually something kind of flipped on him and he was like, yeah, you know, I want to go see my siblings, I want to go be with my dad. And so Gina's getting emotional while she's talking to Travis, giving him all of this like compliments and praise, to the point where Travis is about to cry. Like, he is trying his best not to get emotional, because she says in her confessional that she realized even though she moved out with Travis, she still loved him, but she also realized that like things are not going to change with the ex-wife. So she was like, either I learn how to deal with it, or it is, or like I just move on. And clearly Gina want to deal with it. But again, I want to know, how is she able to like keep the child away from a parent if the parent isn't causing the child any harm? And I know there's all this speculation about like Travis's ex being allegedly like super wealthy, or potentially somebody that's like wealthy but like maybe someone dealing with like a substance issue. I don't know. All of this is alleged, but like I still think it's kind of crazy. We've never seen this lady like do an interview or like say her piece about this situation. But I'm also still kind of like, how is it that she can do these things and yet the courts haven't stepped in? So maybe the money piece is right. I don't know. So the next thing we have is of Jen packing for Amsterdam. You have Ryan helping her out. He ends up saying like, well, how did the bridal shower go the other day? And she was like, it was wonderful. She was grateful that Shannon did that for her. She honestly said that's probably going to be the most organized thing and the biggest thing that we do as it pertains to her wedding, because Jen is really committed to not having a traditional wedding, because she was like, that's what I had the first time and I want this one to be different. I will say, at first, I didn't really see it for Ryan. I didn't. I was like, something about him is sleazy. But at this season, I was like, you know what? He might genuinely care about her and her kids. The fact that the kids have moved in, he seems to really be like a good stepfather to them. I was like, you know what? Y'all get married. Y'all get married or not get married, stay together. But it seems like these two are two people who are really locked in with each other. So good for them. Ryan ends up asking her, so how do you feel about this trip? Are you worried about the girls getting into it? And Jen basically says, I can't do nothing about like Tamara and Shannon and Gretchen. She was like, I hope they can move on and I hope it won't be any fighting, but I can't do nothing about that. I can't do nothing about that. Okay. So as the conversation goes on, they start talking about Jen's ex-husband, Will. We find out that they were at like a sporting event together for one of the kids, and Will actually came and sat with the family, and Ryan was saying the kids told me that they really appreciated him sitting with them, and Jen was like, I know they care so much about him participating. She was like, that's why I choose my words so like carefully, because I don't want to, she's like, I know I say one wrong thing, he gonna block me and he don't want to talk to me anymore. And honestly, I hate that for Jim, because he a grown man. Learn some self-control and some emotional regulation. Like, you should be able to have a conversation with the mother of your child, or not child, mother of your children, okay? And I believe that man is a deadbeat, like Ryan said, because the way that Ryan called that man a deadbeat in the nicest way possible at the beginning of this season, and to me, when a man calls another man a deadbeat, I believe him, okay? I believe women when they call men deadbeats, but it's an added effect, because men like to stick together even if they don't know each other. Men really will stay on bro code, but it takes a lot for a man to like call another man a deadbeat, especially like once they experience it from the woman's eyes. Because I think maybe Ryan might have been more compassionate towards Will early on in his relationship with Jen because they cheated together. But then the fact that them people had to move into his house and he actively is helping take care of them kids, I said, yeah, he know that man a deadbeat. He knows that man is a deadbeat, okay? So moving on from that scene, we get this scene from Tamara and Eddie. Honestly, it was awkward. They seem like they definitely having some marital issues. Tamara is a poor communicator, and Eddie likes to annoy Tamara because he likes getting underneath her skin. They're sitting and having dinner. We find out that Sophia's boyfriend slept over the night before, and pretty much they're like worried that she might try to stay in Orange County instead of going to the Music Institute. And Tamara's like, I'm not letting that happen. Like, girl, you're 19. That relationship ain't that deep. And I said, you right. You right, it ain't. So then Tamara tells Eddie about how she met up with Gina. And Gina, they show us a flashback of Gina asking Tamara, do you think you and Gretchen can move forward? Or like, and Tamara was like, girl, I'm done. Like, I'm done with her. Like, I don't want to do all of that. I'm done. She was like, and Gina says, you know, it's always the people who sit on the front row at the church who are the worst. I said, it is. So Eddie ends up saying, like, I don't know why you need that lady in your life, because she doesn't mean you any good. So then next thing you know, they get their food, and Tamara tells Eddie, look, don't eat a certain way because it annoys me. And then Eddie starts eating that way. It's a mess. It was a mess. I was like, y'all have really poor communication skills. And haven't they been married for almost like a decade? I was like, girl. And Tamara says what's like contributing to that is that Eddie can see when Tamara is struggling and he wants her to open up more like a normal partner would. But Tamara is very much like, I don't open up to people. And I'm like, then why did you marry him in the first place if you can't trust him enough to open up to him and talk to him when you're angry or when you're upset? Because Eddie also brings up how when Tamara be drinking, she get real aggressive. And it's like you can't keep doing that to him, because if the roles were reversed, I would tell him too, call the police. Cause girl, what you're not gonna do is keep getting her with me when I'm just trying to help you. So yeah, they need to go. They need to go get therapy. Cause girl, so time for the girls to go to Amsterdam. Mind you, I was surprised that the plane ride was only 13 hours. I thought it would be longer. I don't know. I just thought it would be longer. The longest I've been on a plane straight for like no stops has been 9 hours. So I feel like I could do a 13-hour plane ride. I will say though, Shannon. It's funny because there's been this whole conversation about Shannon and her like disheveled shtick. Shouts out to the diva, Miss Erica De Niro TV. She calls it the Lucille Ball shtick. I don't know. I'm starting to feel like maybe this is Shannon to a certain degree. Because sometimes I find it funny, but sometimes I don't. But Shannon just gives like all over the place ever since she broke up with her ex-husband, David. Because what's weird to me is like before they get to the, I don't know if she cut her toe going to the airport, before the airport, or at the airport. But I think she did it before. Or maybe at the airport because she was saying she needed a Band-Aid. And I'm like, well, if you were at your house, you would be able to put a Band-Aid on your toe. But she cut her toe. She walking around the airport with a sock and a shoe on. Mind you, that made me think of like when we went through TSA last week and this lady was walking around TSA barefoot, and that pissed me off. Because I'm like, girl, you knew you had to go through TSA. Why didn't you pack some socks? Because she actually had like a carry-on. And I'm like, girl, if you have carry-on luggage, I know there's socks in there. Put some socks on your feet. You know TSA is nasty. The airport in general is nasty. I have never seen them mop the airport floors. Like, maybe when I was little, but as an adult, no. Okay? It's the same thing I feel when I see parents like their children crawl on the airport carpet section. Girl, that's how your baby get foot and mouth disease. What's wrong with you? But they make it to Amsterdam, and their hotel looks really nice. We see the ladies all meet up in the lobby after they get like settled, and because they're gonna go on a night at the town or in the town. How are you saying? Night on the town. Night. I said at and in. Girl, on the town. So we see that they're getting on these canal boats to ride in the canal. Mind you, one day I'm putting it out there, manifestation. Okay, I want to be able. Is it in the south of France or is it in the south of Italy where you see the girls that are in those boats that they are on in the canal, and they're always dressed? I'll put reference photos up, but they're always dressed so pretty, like they're going to like this cocktail event or like this really like prestigious event, and they always take their pictures with the blacked out shades and the backdrop. I want to take one of those pictures one day. I just need a reason. Maybe my reason is because I want to take a picture like that. But I was just like, one day. So they're on the boat, and we find out that the group's going to split up into two groups, and then they're going to meet at night to go to the red light district. So they're on the boat. We find out that Heather is going to dump her father's ashes, but they actually find the house that her parents lived in for 15 years while they were in Amsterdam. We find out that they were in Amsterdam, or they moved to Amsterdam because her dad's a corporation, one of their headquarters was in Amsterdam. And you could kind of tell it was like a bittersweet moment for Heather, because she talks about how, when you move away, you can kind of like assume a new identity. And she was like, maybe her father really felt free here. She was like, he was always happy here. But maybe it was because he no longer had the pressure of like taking care of her and her sister, because by the time that they moved to Amsterdam, her and her sister were in college. And I was like, yeah, but you could tell that it was like bittersweet for her, because she really wanted to get to know her father, but he wouldn't allow them in that way. I will say the attires that they were wearing, the outfits weren't outfitting. Jen got on a see-through leather catsuit. Emily got on a black dress with cutouts. I said, Gina looked like she was going to preparatory school. So did what's her name? Gretchen. I said, and then Tamara got on these shorts. I thought what Heather had on was okay, but and Shannon looked age appropriate, but it was so much going on. But they were all wearing like variations of black except for Tamara. Tamara had on black and white. Everybody else had on black. So they're on the boat, and then next thing you know, they're like about to like dock the boat, and Emily decides she want to be messy. We find out 2 hours before they got on the boat, it was Emily, Gina, and Heather had a conversation about Shannon and Tamra getting into it in Temecula. And Emily says, well, it doesn't sound like Tamara was trying to throw a dig at Shannon when she brought up her father. Well, Emily decides to ask Shannon on the boat. She's like, do you really think that Tamara was trying to throw a dig at you? And everyone was like, dang, girl, you getting right into it. And she was like, well, we had a couple of drinks. Here we are. And Shannon said, yeah, I do think she tried to throw a dig at me. And Emily was like, I don't think she did. And Tamara was like, no, I wasn't trying to do that. So then Shannon was like, Tamara can say whatever she wants, and she can do all of this. All she has to say is, I was in a bad place. So then that annoys Tamara, and Tamara mocks her, saying, I wasn't doing all of this. I don't do all of that. And then Shannon says, Tamara's the only person that can call somebody a see you next Tuesday like 15 times. She called me at 15 times, and I'm just supposed to think that whatever she says to me, like it's not going to be a dig. So then Tamara ends up saying, well, do you think you're a see you next Tuesday? Do you? So then Jen is like, why do you always have to do that and go back there? So then Tamara was like, girl, I'm not speaking to you. And then Jen is like, well, like, why do you do that? So then Jen gets quiet, and then before they could really like get into it, they dock the boat, and it's time for them to break up into two groups. So Shannon, Gina, Heather, and Gretchen are going to the dispensary. And then Tamara, Emily, and Jen are going to this place called Lenny's where they can decorate dicks. So we end up seeing them break up in the groups. You got Tamara, Jen, and Emily going to Lenny's. This lady's shop, I guess, is like she made a cast out of somebody's penis that she really liked, okay? Because they asked her, is this your husband, your boyfriend? And she said no. Then they were like, did you have a good time with it? And she said, of course. I said, okay, Miss Lenny. So they paint them and things of that nature. Then they start asking Jen about her relationship with Shannon. Like, they end up asking her, do you believe that Shannon threw that bridal shower like in good faith, like because she cares about you, or do you think she threw it for you so she could be like, oh, like I do all this stuff for you to have like an ally? So we see the other women who went to the dispensary. Mind you, they did not smoke enough or eat enough to be acting as high as they were at that table for dinner. And I'm saying this as someone who has smoked and who has ate a couple of edibles. It wasn't enough. I was like, girl, what are y'all doing? And it could be their tolerance is really low. It could be that. It could be that. But I was also like, girl, that's not enough. Like, y'all ain't smoke enough of that blunt to really be like acting like holding up glasses like this to your eyes like it's a telescope. I just was like, girl, what are we doing? So the girls are asking Shannon, like, you know, you're really good at setting your boundaries to a certain extent, but it's kind of crazy that you're friends with Jen knowing that she's friends with Alexis. So then they start talking about how why is it that you're cool with being friends with Jen and you can't be cool with Tamara to a certain extent? And honestly, it just sounds like the group doesn't like that Jen and Shannon are becoming friends. Tamara thinks that the only reason why Shannon is becoming friends with Jen is because she's no longer friends with her, because Tamara brings up how Shannon never really wants to get to know anybody, but now that her and Tamara are not cool, she's going out. And I'm like, well, that's kind of normal. Like, granted, I do think that Shannon shouldn't confine herself to you, but it's like y'all aren't friends. So I don't think it's a big deal that she's trying to be friends with Jen. Now, Gretchen, I could see her only being friends with Gretchen to spite you, but not being friends with Jen because Jen just got on this show. Like, it is what it is. They start talking about Alexis's wedding, where Jen says she wasn't going. She was like, Shannon, she doesn't want to mess up what she has with Shannon. Shannon says, well, Jen says she wasn't going. When they do the flashback, it seems like Jen did tell Shannon, like, she got to save the date, but she doesn't know if she wants to go. But I think I told y'all, Alexis ended up disinviting Jen. So it is what it is. They then we go back to the girls that were at the dispensary. They all came at Gretchen. Really, it was Heather. I was surprised at how Heather was like, no, girl, you were wrong. Like, everybody in the group thought you were wrong for taking Slade over there to have a conversation with Tamara. everyone thought you were wrong. Like Heather was really like, girl, you're wrong. You're wrong. And nothing Gretchen could say could get Heather not to keep telling her she was wrong. And then we go back to the other girls, and Emily was like, I don't get why Slade always got to be in it. Like, that's the part that I don't get. Like, why does he always have to be in it? So then in the confessional, Gretchen basically says that she realizes in order to get through to Tamara, you got to fight fire with fire. And then in another confessional, Heather was like, that's stupid. Why would you want, it's more like fighting fire with gasoline. You making the situation worse. And I'm not saying that Gretchen should not be able to defend herself and fight back when it comes to Tamara. My thing with Gretchen is she always tries to act like she isn't being aggressive. Like, it's like, I can't respect the moves that you make because you always are like, well, I'm the victim. And it's like, well, you're equally playing into like the fight. Like you're actively participating in it. And I think that's why I like some of the ladies on other franchises where it's like, well, no, she being mean, so I'm gonna be nasty too. Like I'm gonna match her energy, but they don't try to like do what Gretchen does in my mind, where it's like she's a victim, and it's like, no, you and your husband, well, he's not your husband. You and Slade were trying to start something at that event, and honestly, if Eddie was a different man, Slade might have got popped in the mouth. Like, I feel like you could not do that on like New Jersey or Married to Medicine or Atlanta. Like, well, there's no husbands on Atlanta. Well, there are husbands. I feel like Charles Oakley, Angela Oakley's husband, would have popped Slade in the mouth. Like, he would have got up and been like, what we doing? Like, on Married to Medicine, I feel like the men would be vocal about like, why did you go over? They would have like really ate into Slade's ass about going over there and really getting in the mess with the women. So like, I'm just like, Gretchen, you need to own the fact that it was like you was out of line. Like, you could have had a conversation with Tamara by yourself. You didn't need Slade to be there, but you wanted Slade to be there to intimidate her, and it worked in a sense because she left the party. But now you're upset that everyone is now telling you that, girl, you're no better than Tamara. You should have been smarter about that. Also, I feel like Gretchen doesn't understand that she is fighting an evil genius. Tamara knows how to pivot. Like, Tamara knows that you was coming back on this show. Tamara knew you were coming back on this show and decided to play you. And it's working because people are really talking about how you flopped coming back this season. So we end up seeing the ladies all meet up at this restaurant, and then by the end of the night, they end up going to the red light district. So episode 16, it opens up. The girls are in the red light district. They shaking their yams, shaking their melons in the windows and having a good time. So then it's the next day. We end up seeing them go to the Tulip Farms. Beautiful place, mind you. And so we see Emily, Heather, Gina, and Tamara having this conversation. More so, Emily seems to be bothered and high-key jealous at the fact that Jen and Shannon are developing this new friendship, because she's the one that brings on this question about, is Jen going to Alexis Bellino's wedding or not? And so Gina ends up saying, well, we had a conversation with Shannon the other day, and Heather was like, yeah, I talked to her, and I basically was like, girl, you set all these boundaries with your relationships, but it's kind of crazy that you're friends with Jen, knowing how close Jen is to Alexis Bellino. And then we questioned her about the wedding, and Gina was like, well, yeah, she told us that Shannon, she told us that she was not going to the wedding because of her friendship with Shannon. So then Emily says, well, no, Jen told us that Shannon asked her not to go. But Shannon told them that Jen was not going to the wedding because of their relationship. So now the four of them are like, something about this don't sound right, okay? So then while they're standing there, you see Jen and Shannon taking pictures and things of that nature. And then you hear Gina complain about how she doesn't understand how Jen got a bridal shower party and she's been Shannon's friend longer. On top of that, she was going through what she was going through with Travis, where she didn't know if their relationship was going to make it, but you're going to give her a party for still being engaged. So now Gina is in the confessional saying that she feels like she's being punished for being the type of friend that calls Shannon out. So it flashes back to when they were in Temecula, where Gina basically tells Shannon that she's worried about her and is scared that she might fall off like the wagon when it comes to her sobriety. So then the scene shifts and they all go sit down to go get like food, and they're still at the Tulip Farm, but it seems like they had like a little area for everyone to eat. and like drink and just, take in the tulips, all right? So then Gina decides to bring up to Jen, so you're not going to Alexis's wedding. And Jen is like, well, no. And they're like, so you're not going because of your relationship with Shannon? And Jen was like, yeah, like I understand why Shannon and Alexis don't get along. But yeah, I'm not going because of my relationship with Shannon. So then Heather ends up saying, why would you not go if you don't have any issues with Alexis? Why would you not go to her wedding? And then Jen is like, well, because I don't want to hurt Shannon because of our relationship. So then Shannon makes it known she did not ask Jen not to go to the wedding. She was like, I didn't tell you not to go. But you're also, the energy that you're giving Jen, Shannon, is that you don't want her to go. And if she does go, you gonna have a problem with it. Because later on in this conversation, you make it known that you have an issue with her continuing a relationship with Alexis. So don't do that. So Jen is like, well, I don't have any issues with Alexis. Like, we're not that close of friends, but I'm not just going to cut her off just because of Shannon, because the lady ain't never did nothing to me. So then Shannon basically says that she wouldn't be friends with somebody, especially if they were treating another friend of theirs poorly. And so Shannon is like, all the things that Alexis has done to me, like, yeah, it is kind of weird that you still would like to be friends with her. And so then Jen is like, so if I stay cool with Alexis, is that going to make our friendship different? Are you going to look at me differently? And Shannon basically says, yeah, a little bit. And Jen says, you know what, Shannon, that's effed up. That's effed up. And then you hear Tamara say, yeah, that is kind of effed up. Like, she shouldn't have to choose. Shannon tries to say that she's not someone who gets to dictate people's friendships, but you basically are. You're telling her that if she maintains a relationship with Alexis, your friendship might not stay the way that it is because of what Alexis has done to you. And that's understandable, but you should be honest about it. So then Gina, being extra messy, basically tries to, like, I feel like, here's the thing. They're lying on Jen to me, because Jen has not said that she wasn't appreciative of the bridal shower that Shannon threw for her. She just said that's not something that I would do for myself, because we know she doesn't want a traditional wedding, which means she doesn't want the bridal shower. They did do an engagement party, but she doesn't want certain things, certain aspects done when it comes to her wedding. So her saying, like, yeah, that's not something I would have did for myself, but I'm appreciative to what Shannon has done for me, is not her saying that she did not like what Shannon did for her. Because Gina ends up saying, well, like, why can't you be honest, Jen? Because it's not fair that you can't be honest in this relationship. You didn't even like the fact that Shannon threw you a bridal shower. So Shannon is like, you didn't like it? And Jen is looking at Gina like, girl, what the hell is your problem? She was like, what are you getting on about? I never said that. She's like, I never said that. So Jen is irritated with Gina, because she's like, girl, why? Like, why are you saying these things? So then Jen is in her confessional basically saying, no, these are not things I would have done for myself, but I'm not going to, like, tell the person that paid their money and took out time for me that I'm not appreciative for what they did. So then all of a sudden, Emily chimes into the conversation. Then you hear Heather basically say that, honestly, Gina's just upset because she ain't getting no party from you, Shannon. Because Gina is now going on about how she feels like, how dare you throw a party for her, knowing that I have went through what I went through with Travis. And I'm like, girl, you got your nerve. You have your nerve. So next thing you know, Jen is like, girl, I haven't done anything, Gina, for you to be doing all of this. So then Emily jumps in and she says, it kind of feels like a fake friendship between y'all, because it seems like y'all aren't being honest about what's going on. And I'm like, why do y'all care so much about their friendship? Like, why does Emily and Gina care this much about Jen and Shannon becoming friends? Like, why? Y'all are not that close with Jen. And y'all just started, I think, in my mind, really getting cool with Shannon, because Shannon and Gina used to not see it for each other. And Emily being best friends with Gina was not see it for Shannon. So I'm just kind of like, why is it a bother that she's cool or they're trying to get close together? It just feels juvenile. So then Gina starts talking, which pisses Emily off, because She ate a gummy, and so she won't shut up about it. So you finally hear Heather tell Gina, girl, let's play the silent game, because now Emily's pissed, and Emily is telling Gina, girl, shut up. So Gina says in the confessional, sometimes you need your best friend to tell you to shut the hell up. And I was like, yeah, because you look crazy. This is stupid. Like, this is, y'all don't have nothing better to do than try to break up their newfound friendship. That's dumb. That is the next scene we have is of the ladies in these hot tub boats on the canal. Mind you, I was like, the pairings, I was like, this could be a disaster. Because you got Emily, Tamara, and Gretchen in a boat together. I said, somebody going to go overboard. Then you have Shannon driving the other boat. And I said, somebody might drown if they hit another boat. Because Shannon gives, she don't have no hand-eye coordination. Okay? But in the other boat with Emily, Gretchen, and Tamara, Emily is trying to facilitate a conversation between the two, getting them to like want to move forward with one another. And I, like, y'all, I am not a Tamara Judge stan. I'm not a Judgette. I'm not a Tamarat. I'm not that. But I have to be on Tamara's side with this, because at the end of the day, it is Gretchen who broke their agreement. You keep saying that you want to move forward with this lady, but your actions do not show that. You were on that beach saying, yes, let's move forward. And then weeks later, you decide to bring a rumor that was on the show, I think almost like 10, maybe even like 9 or 10 seasons ago, back to the show to pretty much, was it 10? I can't be that far ago. It could be. Pretty much, you brought a rumor from way back in this in the several seasons of this show, on this show, you and Slade. And now I think what's bothering Gretchen is she's mad that everyone is starting to see her as the same as Tamara, because Gretchen always sees herself as the victim in her situations with Tamara. I think Gretchen needs to understand, don't nobody give a damn about y'all fighting for the past 12 years. In this situation, the group sees you as the aggressor. You reneged on a situation that you agreed upon. And I think Gretchen's brain is fried by that, because she's like, but no, what I did was just a drop in the bucket of what Tamara has done. You and Tamara care about what y'all have done to each other. The rest of the group does not care. And Gretchen is you can tell it's really bothering her that she keeps getting compared to Tamara, and that nobody is really like chastising Tamara in this moment of being nasty towards Gretchen, because in everybody else's mind is like, well, girl, you reneged. You broke the agreement. So it's like, if she want to be nasty, she can be nasty now, because you keep saying you want to move forward and you had the opportunity to move forward, but that's not what's happening. Because Tamara even says, girl, do you really want to move forward with me when you chase me at a party telling me run, bitch, run? And Gretchen was like, well, I only brought that up because Jen told me this. And then Emily tells her, well, Jen only told you that because Jen asked Tamara about her sit down with Katie. It wasn't like Tamara was walking around the party trashing Slade, girl. That's not what was happening. And you could tell that Gretchen was just like, she didn't have anything else. And it's just like, girl. So then it ends with Tamara being like, if we're moving forward, then you got to stop. You have to stop. Like, we're done. And you can tell that it bothers Gretchen that Tamara has one up on her. But it's like, you put yourself in that predicament. You put yourself in that predicament, lady. You should have kept your mouth shut. Your life partner is a crappy one, because somebody in this relationship should have told you, girl, we got to let it go. We got to let this obsession with Tamara go, because it's going to eat us alive. And now this season that was supposed to be your triumphant return is flopping miserably, because everyone is like, girl, Tamara hasn't done anything so far to you like that, but you have done it to her. And here we are. So we then have the last scene of the night where the ladies are at this like restaurant, and for some reason Gretchen is crying. Like, I thought maybe her and Tamara got into an argument again, but it seems like she's crying about the whole entire situation of being like overwhelmed with like Tamara and the back and forth. We see her actually call Slade while she's in her dressing room trying to figure out if she's gonna go eat with everybody, and she's just like, it's a lot. But Slade is like, well, if she's willing to move forward, like maybe like we can, like, it's time to like let everything go. It's just time to let everything go. And I was like, that's because y'all know y'all look bad, and you have to let it go at this point, because the lady is like, we gonna move forward or not, So then we see before Shannon, Gretchen, and Jen get to the table that the ladies are sitting at, that the rest of the ladies are talking about what's going on. And Gina is trying to tell Tamara, well, Gretchen really wants to move forward. And she's actually owning what she did and acknowledging that it was wrong. So then Tamara was like, I'm just sick of her trying to act like she's such this good person when she's not. And Gina was like, well, I mean, yeah, she not really. So then Shannon and Jen get in there, and Jen is like, should I have not invited Gretchen to come? Because I just was like, should I? She's like, should I not? Because the energy. And they're like, no, she's fine. So then they were like, is she okay? And Jen was like, she just seems super emotional. So I was just like, she just needed a minute. So you see Gretchen get to the restaurant. You could tell her energy is just low, and the girl been crying all night. So then Emily ends up asking her, are you all right? And she's like, yeah. She was like, do you want to talk about it? And she's like, no. So then she ends up saying like, she just feels like the beef between her and Tamara is never going to end. And she's just like, it's just, she's very emotional. And so then Tamara basically says, girl, you can't say this beef is never going to end between us when you're the one that broke the agreement. And Tamara has a point. So then Shannon was like, well, she did apologize to you as self-defense. And Tamara was like, that doesn't make what she said okay, even with an apology, Shannon. So then Heather was like, well, yeah, she did apologize. So then Tamara tries to get an attitude with Heather. And Heather's like, I'm not saying what she said was okay, but she apologized and she's acknowledging what she said was wrong. Like, it's kind of like, what else do you want from her? So then Emily was like, I mean, you guys did say y'all were going to move forward. Like, so why are we sad now? So then Gretchen just talks about how she just feels like things like it's so much and like going on between them. And she just thought like the apology would be different, an acknowledgement of like what was done wrong. And Tamara's just like, girl, here we go again. And so then Shannon says in her confessional, she can understand where Gretchen is coming from, where it's like you want an apology, but you want a sincere and authentic apology. And Shannon says she's just gotten to the point with Tamara where she realizes she's not going to get that from her and she's moving on. So then Gretchen is just like, it just feels like there was no acknowledgement. So even though Tamara apologized when they were in the hot tub boat again, I get what Gretchen is saying. She wants like a legit apology of like, I am sorry for all the things that has happened between us and the actions and what I have done to you for the past 12 years. Tamara's whole thing is like, girl, I've apologized. I'm not going to keep apologizing to you. Either take it or leave it. And it's like, they're not wrong, but they're also not right. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, you have to be sincere in your apology towards Tamara too, Gretchen. And Tamara is not wrong for being like, I'm not going to keep apologizing, but the apology does need to be sincere, Tamara. So then Gina chimes in and she basically says, honestly, it's going to take a lot more time for y'all to be okay with what happened between y'all because it's 12 years. It's 12 years of back and forth and it's complicated. And so Gretchen is like, yeah, you're right. So then everyone was just like, well, maybe the emotions that you're feeling, Gretchen, is the fact that you're finally letting go whatever happened between you and her. Like you're just releasing all that toxicity. So then it's the next day and we see Emily and Gina in the bed together and they're talking about Gretchen. And Gina is talking about how she's trying to reconcile the Gretchen she sees in front of her and the Gretchen that is online. And Emily was like, yeah, those posts were pretty nasty. But she was just like, we have to ask her about it. Like, maybe that's not her. Maybe she didn't mean to like it or comment on those things. But we find out from Gina that when her and Tamara were hanging out at the dispensary, that Tamara showed Gina these posts that Gretchen were liking and she was commenting on. They end up showing Emily them when they're in a car ride together, and Emily is like gagged as well. She was like, oh, that's gross. That's actually like really gross. Like she like, why? No. And then you hear Gina say, girl, we have to tell Heather because she's not going to be happy about this. So then Gina is like, I don't know if we should tell Heather. She was like, I want to tell Heather, but I just don't know. But Emily was like, but we do need to have a conversation with her about her social media. And it's not lost on me that the only reason why Tamara is bringing these posts up is to get back at Gretchen. But when you read the stuff that Gretchen was liking, it's very hateful, it's dangerous, it's violent, and it's nasty. It's like it encompasses all those things. Okay, someone actually made a compilation video. I'm gonna save the post for when we actually review the actual episode when it comes out. But like when she started screaming about how she's not that person, she definitely is that person. A lot of that stuff was nasty. It was. I hope Heather cusses her out because that stuff was nasty that she liked. But that's all I got for you guys today. As always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below, like the video, subscribe, and I'm out, y'all.